Good evening, and thank you for joining us for tonight's story from Hans Christian Andersen. This story is called The Butterfly. The butterfly was wanting a sweetheart, and naturally he wanted a nice little flower. So he had a good look at them. They all sat very quiet and sedate on their stalks, as young ladies who are not engaged should do. But there were so many to choose from, and it was so much trouble, that the butterfly couldn't be bothered and flew off to the dog daisy. They call her Marguerite, and she can tell fortunes, which she does when people pluck off her petals, saying of their sweethearts as they do so, "He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not," and so on. You can say it in any language. The butterfly, too, had come to ask its fortune, only he didn't pick off her petals, but gave each one a kiss, believing that kindness gets you further. "Sweet Marguerite Daisy," he said, "you are the wisest woman among all the flowers. You can tell fortunes. Tell me if I am to marry this one or that. Tell me which one to marry. When I know, I can fly straight to her and propose." But Marguerite gave no answer at all. She didn't like him to call her a woman, for she was a lady, and a lady isn't a woman. He asked her twice, and he asked her 3 times, and as he never got a single word out of her, he couldn't be bothered to ask her any more, but flew straight off to propose. It was in the early spring, and there were a lot of snowdrops and crocuses. "They're very pretty," said the butterfly. "Sweet little things, but rather insipid." Like all young men, he was looking for older girls. He next flew to the anemones, but they were too sour for him, and the violets were too romantic, the tulips too showy, the narcissuses too respectable. The lime blossom was too small and had so many relations. The apple blossom, though it looked like a rose, blossomed only today and dropped tomorrow, just as the wind blew, and that would be too short a married life, thought he. The sweet pea was of all the flowers the one that pleased him best. She was pink and white, she was fair and pretty, and was one of the domesticated girls who are both good-looking and can make themselves useful in the kitchen. He was on the very point of proposing to her when he saw, hanging close beside her, a pea-pod with a withered blossom at the end. "Who's that?" he asked. "My sister," said the sweet pea. "So that's what you'll come to look like." This so frightened the butterfly that off he flew. Over the hedge hung the honeysuckle, lots of those young ladies who are so long in the face and sallow-complexioned. They were not the sort he liked. Well then, what did he like? Ask him! Spring passed, summer passed, and autumn had come around, and he was no nearer. And the flowers put on their loveliest dresses, but what was the use of that, when the freshness and fragrance of youth were absent? Fragrance is exactly what the heart in old age requires, and there isn't very much fragrance in dahlias and hollyhocks. And so the butterfly came down to the mint. She has no flowers at all, but is a flower all over, fragrant from tip to root, the fragrance of flowers in every leaf. I'll have her. And so at long last he proposed. But the mint stood stiff and silent, and in the end she said, "Friendship, but that's all. I'm old and you're old. We might well live for each other, but marry? No! Don't let us make fools of ourselves in our old age." And so the butterfly had no one. He had been looking too long, and one should never do that. The butterfly became, as they say, a crusty old bachelor. It was late in the autumn, and raining and drizzling. The wind blew chill down the backs of the old willow trees, making them creak. It wasn't the weather to be flying about in one's summer dress, neither for love nor money, as the saying goes. But the butterfly wasn't flying about outside. He had happened to get inside, where there was a fire in the grate, and it was as warm as in summer. He was able to live, only to live isn't enough, he said. Sunshine, freedom, and a little flower are what you want. And flying towards the window he was seen, admired, and stuck on a pin in a box of curios. They couldn't do more for him. So now I'm on a stalk like the flowers, said the butterfly. But it isn't what you'd call pleasant. I suppose it's like being married. You're a fixture. And so he consoled himself with that. It's a poor consolation, said the flowers on the pot plants. But pot plants aren't really to be believed, thought the butterfly. They keep too much company with people. The butterfly. Thanks for so much for listening. Good night, everybody.